You too can own a proud box of wiring and gauges and all kinds of stuff if you're feeling adventurous. Figured I'd make a quick video while I was sitting here because I can just kind of run you through everything I did. There's a million of these on the internet, and it doesn't really matter as long as your car is 12 volt. It wouldn't be specific to this car. However, my gas gauge does not work because, as some of you know, I ran a fuel cell, and the shop that did my gas gauge, they were super busy. They just didn't have time to figure out the ohms, and I didn't go back and research it and get it to them. I didn't make it easy on them. So anyway, here I am trying to figure out my own gas gauge. I love Glowshift gauges. I've used them before. I used them in my other bug. So I've got this hook, well, almost all the way hooked up. I've got it power and grounded. I've got the, um, hang tight, we'll be back. I've got the signal wire. There it is. Here we go. I've got the signal wire also run to it, but I don't have, this is actually not the gauge I'll be running. This is an analog gauge. I like the digital number gauges. This is one I had laying around that already had the harness on it, so I was able to just wire it up because it's going to plug in the same to the Glowshift digital one when it gets here. And I'll show you what that gauge looks like when it actually gets here. I know the wiring looks like it's got a lot to be desired. There's actually a second harness on here for the other gauge. I've got a volt gauge coming from Glowshift 2. I had some credit on my Amazon, and they had a digital volt gauge. That was pretty cool. I do need some other gauges, but I gotta run senders and again, wires and stuff from the engine, and that'll come later. I've got a triple pod that goes in here. It's over there somewhere. But right now, the main thing I need is this gas gauge, because driving around with it is absolutely panic inducing. All right, so on basically all your Glowshift, well, I wonder if I have one over there. I don't. On all your Glowshift, the other one's buried inside the thing. Well, let me see if I can get it to not. You can see the colors. Anyway, your green is going to be your signal wire, and your orange will always be your dimmer relay. So when you cut your headlights on or whatnot, your gauge will um, dim out or brighten up with the headlights. Red and yellow connected together to be power, and black will be ground. And that's almost that harness that's inside on this gauge is the exact same harness that's on that gauge. When the other gauge pod gets here today, it'll go right here, and this will sit up here, and you won't see those wires at all. And then this will be run a little more neatly with the loom. But basically all you need to do is, I don't like wires sticking out as much as possible, so I ran the wires down here. You've got, it's confusing. I didn't have all the right colored wires, but I know what's what because the gauge is different. Red for me will always be power. One of these is ground, and one of these is the signal that I've run down through my trim. Excuse the car, it's dirty. Back through here, hidden. And then you can probably see that blue wire there where the seat delete is currently taking place. I'm waiting on the M8 triple head hex to get the seatbelt, the actual seatbelt harness is a part of the seat bar that holds it in. So anyway, you can see that wire. It runs back there to my cell, and I'll get you some footage of that here in a second. All right, so here we are back here with my messy ass fuel cell. You can see my old sound deadening and heat stuff is down. I've ordered more. We'll be putting that down, but anyway, that's not what we're here for today. Fuel cell, 2 wires coming out. One's going to be a ground. That's what that will be. This yellow, you can ground that to whatever. I'm not going to ground it there. I was just testing things out. This green is going to be your signal to the wire I ran. And that will all be hidden underneath all my mat and stuff. So you won't see any of that wire. And then up there will be 2 gauges up there in the corner, 1 volt and 1 fuel. So I can know how much fuel I have in the car without having to come back here and dip my finger and or nose into it. It's that easy. If you want to hide the wire, you run the wire, hide it. I ran it down the side of the car, up to the fuse box, powered everything off the fuse box, grounded it off a bolt up there, and I ran a second harness off the first harness, wired everything together, so when both my gauges get here, Again, they'll both be up there, and the wiring will be pretty, and I will have a gauge for my fuel cell. But what I did here was on the Beetle, behind here is a fuse panel with quite a few fuses. I tapped into those for my power. My ground is run behind this. That looks gross. My ground is run behind this to a bolt. That grounds it out to the car, and then again your signal wire just needs to come from your cell or wherever it is. Now keep in mind I bought this gauge specifically because the Glowshift gauges read every ohm. They have a little adjuster on the back, and you can adjust from 0 to 90 ohm to whatever it is above that you need. My particular cell needs a 0 to 90 ohm. So when I cut this on, I'll show you. It's got power. I'm lazy. I didn't hook it up to the constant. So every time I turn it on, the gauge is blue. That's my fuel pump you're hearing. Also, the flashing is not the gauge itself. It's the frame rate between the camera and the gauge. So it's not going to flash when you get it. You can see it does its needle sweep. I got the 7 color. It looks a little dark because I haven't taken the plastic off yet. I also got the tinted one. This is a tinted one from my other bug, but it's blurry. But you can see it's got the 7 color, and I promise you it's not flashing off camera. And there you go. And I'll turn it off and on again. You're going to hear my pump come on, and you'll see this particular one. It just does its little needle sweep, and it goes right back to blue every time if you don't hook it up to a constant source that keeps it on whatever color you want. That being said, I almost never drive this car at night. There's a lot of deer and stuff around, so my preference would be to set it up to this white almost color because it's the brightest thing at night. But when I hop in, if I can't see it, I'll just change it with a button. It's not that big a deal. The one I actually ordered that's digital is also got the 10 or 7 color change color thing to it. But I just wanted to show you that it's pretty simple. If you don't care about hiding the wire at all, it's super duper simple. Like if you got a full-blown race car and you just want to run wire all over it, power, ground, signal, that's what you need. You're also going to ground the fuel cell out if that's what you're using. But like I said, today or tomorrow, Glowshift will be sending me, well, I bought them, they're not sending me for free, but I just went ahead and pre-wired up this harness so I could just tap my other pod when it gets here and then just plug this into the back of my volt gauge and it'll be good to go. Then I can clean this up a little bit. At my door, sorry, I got heartburn. My door won't slam on those, and I'm going to run some more sheath over that. You won't see it. It'll be much cleaner. But it's pretty straightforward as far as power, ground, and signal go. Like I was saying, shut up, car. I don't think the gauges are going to be here today, but the other pod will be, so I can kind of tuck everything in and see what kind of length I need to be working with and get everything cleaned up here. But I will have a fuel gauge working for herbicide, and I won't have to panic and look inside the cell